she takes them so seriously, and she's pulling like conclusions left and right. She's like, oh, tell me about the dream. And then she'd be like, you saw red like 3 times. This means this. And I'd just be like, yeah. But I was paying $20 at the time for it. So, you tell me whatever you want to tell me. Hello, clowns.
I'm Amee.
I'm Chen, and we're the hosts of Clown Vibes Podcast.
We're just two best friends who get together to laugh and discuss a variety of topics.
From all things pop culture to navigating through adulthood as Asian Americans and more, with our very own clown spin, of course.
We're so glad to have you here to clown around with us, and we really hope you enjoy the episode.
Hi, clowns. Welcome back to another episode of Clown Vibes. This intro is brought to you by the news that has shaken, I would say, the entire world, but it's probably only like 1%
of the United States. World. I cannot go 2 minutes on social media without seeing something about this.
If you are Vanderpump adjacent or just like not in the world, you'll be like, what is going on? And then there's like the other half where like the true fans are becoming like the true fans are becoming rabid. Like, check on your pump rule friends. Yes. They're not okay.
We are ill. I have been living and breathing this drama since it dropped last Friday. I have a headache at all times from how often I look at my screen. I am exhausted. It's been a ride.
Okay, so because I am not a super fan, I've only watched one season. Season 1 was actually really good. I highly recommend it. It got a little bit too much, like, and not in a good way for me in season 2, so I kind of stopped, but I'm at least like somewhat familiar with the characters. But you, as our literal resident expert of this drama, please give us the TLDR.
Okay, so there are 5 main characters in this saga: Tom Schwartz, Tom Sandoval, Raquel, Ariana, and kind of Sheena and Katie. Okay, so like 4 main characters, 2 side characters that are really relevant. So there are 2 Toms, and on the season that's airing right now, the majority of the season is about Raquel trying to get with Tom Schwartz, who has been married to Katie. They recently got divorced, I think like last December-ish. Mm-hmm. And they're filming over the summer. So like 6 months post-divorce, Raquel is trying to get with Katie's ex-husband, mm-hmm. Tom Schwartz, who is best friends with Tom Sandoval. So on Friday, I'm just scrolling on TikTok and I see this page 6 article that says Raquel has been hooking up with Tom Sandoval, the other Tom, who has been in a 10-year relationship or 9-year relationship, very fucking long, with Ariana. So it was just crazy. And Raquel and Ariana are close friends. Like, they're besties. The Katie and Tom Schwartz situation of all of it is like, fine, I guess. Like, it's not nice because, they got divorced. Like, it's really close to it. They're in the same friend circle. They have this boundary. So just that was getting me so aggravated when I was watching the show. And then seeing that this whole time she's been having a full-blown affair with Tom Sandoval is like core shaking.
Okay, so her trying to get together with Schwartz, that's like open news, right? Like, even it's being filmed and everything, like everyone knows.
Exactly. Okay. Everyone knows. That's what we all thought the focal point of this season was. Because even like in the summer, we were hearing rumors that they were like making out at Sheena's wedding and this and that. And like
Mhm.
Katie has been making comments on Instagram, like about how much she hates Raquel. So
Okay.
that was open news. We've been watching it from that like lens this season. I think we're on
Mhm.
episode 5 of the season. So like there's a long time to go until this thing ends. And even when I was like texting people to look at the news, they were like, I mean, this is like old news. Like she's been hooking up with Schwartz. And I was like, no, you guys, not Schwartz, Tom Sandoval. Like, this is crazy.
Yes,
The fact
there
that
are
they're
two
both named
Toms.
Tom is very confusing. But apparently they're in love. They have these matching lightning bolt necklaces that they wear as like a signal of their love, which people have
What?
in their pictures for like months and months now. He has been openly all over Raquel, but this group is so weird and insidious a little bit that like it doesn't seem that weird that they're so touchy because they're just all very close. And there are rumors that they would hook up in the house while Ariana was sleeping, like she was staying in their den
Oh,
for a while. And even on her press tour, like on Wednesday, when like everyone found out, or like the cast found out and Ariana found out, Raquel was giving interviews about how good of a friend Ariana is. Yeah. So
okay. I don't know any of these characters, but my initial thought is I hate Raquel.
hate, hate, like my
And
blood boils thinking about her.
also, is she actually in love with Sandoval, or is she just trying to like get to Schwartz but can't? So like she's settling, or do you? If
No,
this is like
no.
a common like thing, or is Schwartz like the whole fake storyline and it's really all about Sandoval?
It's really all about Sandoval. Like Schwartz is a fake storyline because they were already hooking up before she basically like started trying to get with Schwartz because they apparently started hooking up July 2022, which is when around when they started filming, and they did not like make out at Sheena's wedding until September. So
Mm,
in a way, like everyone's speculating that the Schwartz saga of it all is a cover story. And we
probably.
all thought like Schwartz must have known whatever, and like he went along with this. But apparently on Kristen Doty's podcast, she said that Schwartz only found out a month ago, which I kind of believe because while they are ride or die for each other and they've covered up so much shit, I
Mhm.
don't know that he would actively like create the storyline just to protect his friend. Like that's exhausting. And he is like creating an enemy out of Katie, his ex-wife, who is like his only family in LA.
Aw.
For what? Like it's not fully worth it just to help Tom Sandoval. So I do believe that Schwartz only found out a month ago.
What is like the fallout of all of this? Because I saw something, it's just like in comparison to other celebrity trauma going on right now, the Vanderpump Rules cast has been just like openly discussing
Yeah,
this all over social media.
it's
Give me
everything.
the like most hilarious responses.
What's going like extremely viral right now? I guess in the pump rules world, God knows if it's viral in the actual is like okay, so the way everyone found out is at his cover band show, Ariana got his phone somehow while he was on stage, and she looked through it, I guess, or saw messages that made her want to look through it and saw a video that Tom had screen recorded of their like FaceTime sex session. And so then she called Raquel. Yeah, she called Raquel and was like, "What's happening?" Raquel was just like, "Yeah, this happened." And Sheena was with Raquel, who is like also her Raquel's other best friend. And Sheena has been
Mm.
protecting the shit out of Raquel. But Ariana is Sheena's best friend, like best friend of
What?
12, 15 years. So Sheena got pissed.
Who's
Apparently,
she pissed at?
she's pissed at Raquel.
Okay, good.
Apparently, there was a physical altercation that Raquel is saying. And she even filed a restraining order against Sheena. And then yesterday, Sheena came out and said, no, I did not punch her. Like her eye situation was like that prior to Wednesday. So like it was not me who did this. Like this restraining order is fake. Anyways, so that's how everything came out. And they think that Ariana sent the video to herself. So in order to stop people from sending this video around to each other, Raquel's lawyers emailed everyone, I guess, to basically like whatever the legal term is to be like, stop fucking doing this. And Lala gets on Instagram, and Lala is
I
like
saw this.
crazy character. She's just really like says whatever the fuck she wants. She's funny. She's good reality TV. She basically gets on Instagram and is like, why is your lawyer sending this to my personal email? Like, send it to Daryl, my lawyer. Like, what? I don't want to see this in the morning. And like, send it to Daryl is going extremely viral.
Yes.
He's already made merch. Like, merch is out there.
Are you getting it?
I don't, honestly, I'm thinking about it because I'm like, this is a pivotal moment in my life. I'll never forget where I was when I saw this news.
Guys, February, March 2023. If you are alive right now, you are witnessing the cultural zeitgeist. Like so much is happening and we're just in the thick of it.
We're in the thick of it. We wanted to talk about so much more today, but there's just not time.
No,
like there's just
no
not time. Simply. Yeah, man. So everyone is speaking out. Everyone has recorded a podcast episode about it. They're filming again. Apparently Tom is not remorseful whatsoever and is like basically trying to push this narrative of we've been having problems, that's why I did this.
So what?
It's not an excuse. Yeah, exactly. And Tom Sandoval's whole thing is that he wants to look good. And through all of the history, his position is I'm like the good guy. I am, even though he has cheated multiple times, this and that, like he always has some excuse why like it's fine that he did it. There's like absolutely no world in which this is okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to hold these people accountable.
Yeah.
Remember when some like cheating rumor came out and I asked you, I was like, are we canceling this guy? And you're like, we can't keep canceling everyone who comes out and like cheats. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
This one is like, it's so much further than just cheating because you're cheating with her best friend, like someone that she has in her inner fold that she hangs out with all the time. Like it's so sick. The fact that you guys have been lying to her face for 7 months and then openly like talking about how much you guys love her. That's I just can't, there's not even words to describe how disgusting that is. And this is not like also there are other people that are coming out of the woodwork right now saying, Tom, I've been hooking up with Tom too, or I've hooked up with Tom in the last 6 months. And it's like, you know what? I believe he's just been cheating this whole time. I don't put that
probably
at all. Yeah, he for sure has. To do it in their inner circle is taking it like to the 10th level. Like that is disgusting.
Betrayal on
so many levels. Yeah. And everyone pushes this narrative that Raquel is this dumb idiot. And she is pretty dumb. She talks so fucking slowly. I'm like, spit it out, bitch. Like, we do not have time. You're wasting valuable screen time of other things because you're just talking so slow. But she's not. Like, you can't be so dumb and have this affair with your best friend's partner. Like, they have a house together. They have, like, business ventures together. She is
messy.
An idiot, but she is conniving.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Moral of the story is don't date a guy that's in a cover band. First off.
Yeah. God. And there's so many clips coming out on TikTok of things that like Tom and Ariana have said in the past. Like, so for those of you who don't know, in season 2, I think it came out that Jax and Kristen, who was Tom Sandoval's girlfriend at the time, hooked up while Tom was sleeping in the room, which is bad. They hooked up twice, so it's not anywhere near this level. But when Tom and Jax are talking about it at the time, Tom or Jax is like, you cheat on Kristen all the time. Like, who cares? And Tom is like, but not
Mhm.
with a friend. And this like not with a friend situation has come up so many times in the show. And that's like the worst part of it all is just that why are you doing this in the circle?
All right. Well, now I understand why you've been so unill, and I hope you have a speedy recovery.
Thank you. I need to lock my phone away for 24 hours to decompress.
All right. Our main topic for today is therapy icks. This is a topic that close to my heart because I feel like therapy itself is a wild, wild journey. But we're calling it therapy icks to reflect on the trend that everyone's talking about their icks right now. More so related to dating, but there's just so many parallels with therapy and dating. And I think I recently
Definitely.
had a therapy ick with my past therapist, which I'll kind of get into, but kind of like prompted me to want to discuss with you, like, what are some of the therapy icks that like you've experienced, and like we've seen some crazy ass stories
Very
in the
crazy.
interweb. So just wanted to get us together and just laugh about it a little bit.
Yes. As you know, I have several therapy icks, so I am ready for this.
Okay, so you're currently in therapy, right?
Yes, I have been in therapy for about a year and 3 months, and I'm on my second therapist. I switched about 6 months after my first one. 6 months? 4 months?
Mm-hmm. So the year and a half does not include the entire like 2 years that I've been like telling you that like you should look for a therapist. We'll like dive deeper into like getting into therapy and like the good parts of therapy, but I
Yeah,
feel like the hardest part is just starting therapy and like finding a
finding
therapist.
one. Yeah, finding one is such a journey, I feel like.
And background on my therapy experience, I have been in therapy for 3 years consistently, which is like crazy. I started at the peak of the pandemic, and I was like living at home. So, of course, you need a therapist. And I've been with the same therapist for like all 3 years. And I just now like stopped very recently for like the past month or two because
Mhm.
of she was on vacation, and then I had to like switch insurance for my job. And I'm like in the cusp of like deciding if I want to go back to her or not, which also kind of prompted this discussion. So maybe I'll have like a moment of truth where I'm just like, whoa, I should go back, or
Yeah,
no, I should cut ties with her.
this is the episode to get it all out to decide. Okay, tell us what's an ick. What's a therapy ick?
Okay, so this whole like term therapy, I don't know. I kind of Googled it. No one's been really using it, so maybe I'll go viral for this. But I saw this tweet a while back, and she basically just tweeted, "Has a therapist ever said something so whack to you that it gave you the ick and you had to fire them?" And I thought it was like so funny because why do we not talk about how crazy therapists are?
Yeah. So, and having a bad therapist can really like fuck you
Ruin
up.
your experience. Yeah. Kind of wanted to like frame this discussion with first, like, we found some really crazy stories that we wanted to share, and then we can kind of like go into some of like our own personal therapy icks.
Okay, I will start. I found all of these off of Reddit, by the way.
Reddit is truly the place where you can hide and complain about anything.
Yes, I spend way too much time on Reddit these days. Okay, all of her notes were doodles, like fourth grade style lines and patterns that start in one corner of the page. I honestly wouldn't have minded if she didn't ask me the same questions 3 sessions in a row and then forget. That's what your notepad could be used for.
Okay, so she was just like doodling during the
Yeah,
session.
yeah. And to be able to visibly see your therapist doodling,
Notes, but notes, like, shouldn't that be private?
yeah. But I guess it's like doodles, so it doesn't have to be private.
Yeah. I do feel like since therapy has become more virtual, we have really been like shielded from all the like
Yeah.
in-person clown moments.
Okay. The next one is the first one would consistently cut our sessions short. They'd be an hour and she'd stop them at 45 minutes. That's cutting 25% of my time. When I paid for the full hour, I told her I wanted to get a job. Being a housewife was making me depressed. She tried to deter me from getting employment. I feel like that's like two icks. Like, why would you deter someone from getting employment? Like, if someone's telling you, yeah, I want to get a job, and you're like, no, you shouldn't. That's
Or
weird.
just like ask like, oh, why do you want to get a job?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's a therapist's position to not have an opinion about anything.
Exactly. You should not give advice at all. And therapy can sometimes be so expensive. And then for them to cut off,
So expensive.
yeah, like 25% of your time, that's too much.
Time theft.
Yeah,
The
you can only do that
therapist
from
heard
your
about
job.
time theft. It is
The
her job,
therapists are trying
technically.
to. All right, my therapist's office receptionists openly talk about other clients and have asked each other which one is your favorite while I was waiting for my session. I'm knowledgeable about confidentiality laws regarding mental health, and witnessing that made my anxiety skyrocket. Also, my therapist has called his wife in the middle of our session and frequently checks his phone while I'm talking. I know how alienating it can feel when the other person you're paying to listen to you talk doesn't seem fully present.
That is the whole point of why we're paying someone else to listen to us talk, is so
Yeah.
that they can be present when we're talking.
If you wanted someone to be on their phone while you're talking to them, you can just call me. Okay, tell me some of yours.
Okay, the craziest one that I found on TikTok was, so she started one of her like company was offering those like 5 free therapy sessions, which a lot of companies now
Yeah.
offer, which people 5 therapy sessions does like nothing. So the fact that like companies are like, oh, this is such a great benefit is like
Yeah.
a scam. So she signs up and she finds this therapist. So she's brown, and she was like, oh, I found this like brown therapist. She has a really long wait list, which made her feel like she was really good.
Yeah.
And so she like waited a bit and finally got in. And the initial sessions are always just like an intake session where they just kind of get like background on
Yeah.
yourself. And she said like most of the questions were pretty standard, but like one question she kind of asked was just like, oh, do you eat meat?
What does that
Which is
mean?
like,
Or like what's that? Why is that relevant?
because she's brown. I
Okay.
guess. I don't know. Like brown girl to brown girl. I don't know.
I mean, I would
She
ask
like,
my friend if they eat meat. I don't think my therapist should give a shit if I eat meat or not. Like, it's not
right.
relevant to my life.
Well, it gets more crazy.
Okay.
So her response is like, yes, I eat meat, but like I don't go out of my way to like eat meat in every meal. And so like she thought that was like the only like weirdish question, but like didn't get super into it. Okay, so the next session, basically this is like the first session outside of like session or the intake session.
Okay.
And the first thing she starts off with is like she's like looking at her notes and she's like, okay, so you have an eating disorder. Which the
What?
biggest jump to conclusion. And the girl was just like, why do you think I have an eating disorder? And she's like, well, you don't eat meat, and we tend to see that vegans have eating disorders.
What the
Which
actual
is
F?
like,
If that happened to me, I'd just be like, you're an idiot and I can fix myself. Like, I don't need you, the biggest
well, the
idiot on
thing
the planet,
is
fixing me.
that this girl is like probably very vulnerable right now, like coming
Yeah.
to this like therapist, which she said like she specifically chose her because she specialized in women who have anxiety and depression, which is honestly a lot of us.
Yeah.
But like obviously she's very vulnerable, and to tell like a very vulnerable person that she has an eating disorder, she basically like believed it at first. She was like crying, and she was like, oh my gosh, just like another thing that I have to deal with. But then like they get into the session and her therapist was like, okay, so do you have like a support system? Like what does that look like to you? And she's like, yeah, I have a husband who has been like very supportive through all of this. And the therapist goes like, oh no, he's gonna divorce you if you keep acting this way. Which like basically convinced her that her husband is gonna divorce her, and she like went back to her husband and was like crying about it until her husband was like, you need to like stop seeing this therapist because she's just like brainwashing you.
Yeah, oh my God. I outside looking in, it's so easy for like me, especially to be like, that's crazy to hear. But honestly, this kind of happened to me. Not as a severe, but I was really just like, okay, this professional is telling me these things, like I should do it or whatever.
Yeah,
So
and like these topics are funny, but at the end of the day, like there are people that are in like a position of power, and
yeah.
like most cases you're going to them like super vulnerable.
Mhm.
And so like it's very common for you to like believe these diagnoses.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's all just like a zoo out there with like almost no
Yeah.
regulation, I feel like.
I think it's also because therapists don't have to have like that much standard of education. It's not as if you're going to a doctor in most cases. Like,
Yeah.
really, what business does your therapist have diagnosing you when it should really be like a psychiatrist, maybe?
Yeah. And like what's crazy is like some people are like, sometimes I just feel like my therapist decide to be a therapist so she can like have free therapy sessions with like other people. Like like they're like reverse, and now like, they're just trauma jumping. Which didn't that kind of happen with you in like small instances?
Oh my God. Oh, wait, let me tell you this other one I forgot. She had a house fire that morning, yet still came into our appointment. When I mentioned how my abusive mom was trying to get us to move back in with her, my therapist told me I was lucky to have a place to go to at all. I feel like that's a very like reverse, like, well, you have it better than me, so
Yes.
let's
Oh my
talk
gosh.
about
I
my
hate
issue.
the whole argument like, well, you should be grateful for this. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hate it when friends do this. I hate it when I don't think my therapist has ever said something like that, but it's just like, it's not the point. It's not the
Yeah.
point of why I'm bringing it up to you.
Yeah. 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 And everyone's situation is personal to them. Yes, they can have empathy for other situations, but that doesn't negate or diminish your own feelings about something.
All right, I'm gonna read the Twitter thread that I originally like sparked this discussion. Okay.
Okay.
So this girl finally booked an appointment with a therapist to work through trauma she had been carrying. So the therapist is like, when did this happen? Her about 2 years ago. And then her therapist said, and you're still going on about it? Which isn't the like point of trauma and like why we're in therapy is we've like built this like level of trauma over the like past years, and now we're like talking through it. If I were
Yeah.
able to get through it, I wouldn't be bringing it up with you.
Yeah. 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 I wouldn't be needing to pay you to tell me dumb things.
Another one, when I was sobbing and talking about the several family members of mine who suddenly died in my formative years, my first therapist told me a lot of people go through much worse things. Which like,
No, yeah, that's
yeah.
like the house on fire situation. Oh, I hate that. I would, uh,
Okay, I have some funny ones. These are actually
okay,
like, these made me giggle.
okay.
Mine was sad that the queen died, so I let her go. I mean, maybe I
Fair.
would too. That would give me the ick. Like, you do realize she was very old, right?
Also, it's like, why do I need to know that about you? Like, you should not be telling me any of your preferences about anything.
It was 2016, and my therapist was really into Hillary Clinton. Then I realized how much she resembled Hillary in face, hair, mannerism. I went to an appointment in the morning of the election, and she was in a pantsuit. I never went back.
She was like going to Hillary impersonator.
I didn't know. Like, imagine if your therapist was just like, her side job was a Hillary impersonator.
He's like one of those people in Times Square that's like asking for money to take pictures with you.
All right. So those are our publicly sourced
Hmm.
therapy icks. But of course, like we have a lot to like pull from our personal experience ourselves.
I'll go first. So, just to give background, I also sourced a brown therapist when I first started therapy. I thought, oh, this would be good. I won't have to explain my culture. But anytime I would say, like, this is how my parents and I interact, or like, this is how I'm worried about what I'm worried about, she would immediately say, like, okay, well, that's just a brown culture thing. Like, this is how you should respond.
This was like a big complaint of yours
Yeah.
when you were seeing her. And I think part of it is that brown culture is it's not just a cookie cutter thing. Like it's very complex with like different nuances across many different
Yeah,
types
yeah.
of brown culture that's like very specific to your experience too.
And I would tell her, like, my family and my parents are extremely casual. We do not have a very, like, strict parental child relationship where I can't tell them, and like, I can't speak my mind or I can't, like, say, hey, don't say that to me
Mm-hmm.
directly. Like, I don't have to skirt around things, and wasting multiple sessions trying to tell me how to skirt around things is not helpful when I don't even need to do that. And that's harder than just being able to say, like, what I need to say.
So my therapist is also Asian, and like that was my strategy in picking her is I also didn't want to like explain myself, but I do feel like she every time I kind of mentioned like this might be Asian culture, her entire response would be like, yeah, it might be, but it's like very also very like specific to
Mhm.
your experience and your parents' experiences. So she always like brought me back to just like our own personal experiences
Yeah.
instead of like generalized like brown culture or Asian culture.
Yeah. That's true. And it just the my biggest complaint about her, actually I have so many complaints. This is not my biggest. Another complaint about her is she would not remember a single thing I would tell her. Like that's when I was going to her when I was taking this watercolor class, and it was a like goal of mine to like look for a hobby and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so week to week, she would ask me like what I'm doing to like achieve this goal. And every week I would say, I signed up for this watercolor class. I signed up for this watercolor class. And she would be like, when is your watercolor class starting? And like
Oh
at this
no.
point, it had started 3 weeks prior. And I was like, it started 3 weeks ago. Like I told you that. And I already showed you a picture I painted. Like, what is happening? And she also was an extreme oversharer. She would tell me so much stuff about her own life and tell me things in ways that were super judgy about the people around her. Like I would be talking about, I don't know, maybe my career or something. And she would
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah, you know, the people I went to school with, I look at them on Facebook now and I see where they are. And I'm just so glad that I'm much further than them and they're really not doing anything with their lives.
That is a very judgy thing, and like you should
So
keep that
judgy.
thought to yourself.
100% you should keep it to yourself. And she would make these comments all the time to where I was never fully honest with her because I was so scared she was judging me all the time. The things I did tell her, she would have judgy responses to and tell me, like, I'm playing the victim when I'm simply telling her what happened this last week.
Wait,
That
she
was what
literally
sent
told
me.
you?
Yeah, that's what caused me to finally be like, fuck you, I'm done with this. She said, it seems like you're really playing the victim in this situation. Like, you're taking it very personally. And I'm just like, well, I am taking it personally. That's true. But you asked me what happened this last week. This happened this last week. And it's like one of the bigger things that happened, like week to week. I'm just working. And then a few things will happen. So, of course, I'm going to tell you about the biggest thing that happened this week. What else am I here for? How is this me playing the victim?
I hate the like phrase playing the victim. I don't know where it stemmed from, but in therapy, I almost feel like it should not be used.
Never.
And even if you feel like your like patient is playing the victim, aren't there better ways to like kind of get to that point and help them see it than like say
Yeah,
you're playing the victim? Because what does that even mean, playing the victim?
truly, what does that even mean? I think to her, it just meant like you're holding on to this too long and you should have gotten over it immediately and like just brushed it off. And it's like, well, you know that I'm not going to be able to do that. I have been talking about this like overarching issue for months now. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
clearly not something I can easily brush off. Otherwise, I wouldn't need to come to you, the biggest dummy on this planet. That's truly, and she had this like really intense bus metaphor that she would tell me all the time that was basically like you're the bus driver of your life and people will come in and out and you should not try to like pick people up, and if people leave then like just fully let them go. And I am not a person who will let anyone really go fully.
Mm-hmm.
And so to continue to tell me that and basically continue to shame me for letting people back into the bus is wild. Like, it's my life at the end of the day. And for months, I was not letting people back on this metaphorical bus because that's what she was
Mm-hmm.
telling me. And that was a huge mistake and very against my nature.
Do you think she was very early on in her practice too, like
No,
inexperienced?
I don't think so. I think she had been practicing for years. Like, she's older. She was like
What?
in her late 40s.
Mm,
And
maybe that is like an issue. Like she
yeah,
was an older brown woman.
yeah, I think so too. And I just know way too much about, I just knew way too much about her life. Even thinking about her gives me anxiety. Like, I hate her. And when I got my new therapist and we had the intake session, she was asking
Hmm.
me like why I got a new therapist, whatever, just normal questions. And I was like, I cannot go through that therapy session without feeling judged. I just am looking for someone who is going to listen to me without passing judgment on what I'm telling you.
Good. And I feel like that's what she does.
She totally does. I could not live without this therapist.
She's a white therapist too, right?
Yeah, yeah. And she's younger. I don't know how old she is, but I know nothing about her life. Literally nothing. I'll start the session with like, "Oh, how's your week going? Like what'd you do this week?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, we're not here for that. I had a good week. Like, well, how are you?"
My
Or
therapist
"How
says
was your
that
college?"
too.
Yeah, and I'm just like, "Okay, thanks. I love that."
I too have like a very similar experience with your second therapist in which that like she's very professional.
Mhm.
Like there's no small chit chat. It's like very like kind of to the point. We're here to like for your therapy session.
Yeah.
And while I do like that in a way because it's focusing on me, I almost feel like because I've been with her for 3 years, I still don't have that like closeness that maybe I would really want in a therapist.
What does
I don't know.
closeness and a therapist mean to you? Or like
Exactly.
what kind of like is it like a feeling that you're trying that you think you should have or
It's a feeling of trust that I have not, like, I realize that I haven't really developed with her yet. And I don't know if it's because of her professionalism or because of some like very transactional experiences that I've
Mhm.
had with her. And I also am a little concerned that this may also be like a me issue and not like the situation issue. Okay.
Even if it's a you issue, it doesn't matter. It's your therapy journey. So who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what's a you issue? There's no, it's if you're having a problem with it, it's a problem. It's not a you thing.
All right. So I started therapy with her on my parents' insurance and she didn't take it. And so we did sliding scale. And of course, I was like making less money at that time. This was 3 years ago. So we started at like a certain
Yeah.
amount with like my intention is to like get onto a insurance that she would take.
Hmm.
And so that becomes like a lot more affordable. And
Yeah.
by affordable for the listeners, I mean like with therapy, it would cost like 14, 15, $20. Like
With
that is
insurance. With
yeah, that's
insurance, it costs like 14,
yes.
20 bucks. Yeah.
Without insurance, it costs like $200
Yeah.
if like it really varies. Like there's no
Sometimes
set.
even more.
Yeah.
I got quoted $400 right now. I'm like, who the fuck is going to you, dude? And she didn't take insurance at all. Anyways, continue.
Once I got into therapy, it was fine. But then like because insurance covered it and the cost was just like very manageable, like $20 for a therapy session,
Yeah.
it's a steal.
Hmm.
But whenever I switched or whenever I lost my job and I didn't have insurance, that's when
Hmm.
the sliding scale came back. And I was like kind of discussing like where I was like mentally around like financials. Like that was a stressful part of my life.
Yeah.
And we kind of discussed like, oh, like she basically asked me, she's like, what is like the minimum that you could do? And I
Hmm.
kind of like gave her a number in which she countered. She's like, I know we started with that number, but like because the price of insurance has really gone up over the years, like this is the best that I can do.
Uh-huh.
Which I didn't love that. I just don't love negotiating
Yeah.
money with my therapist. I feel like
Totally. It's awkward.
you're in a relationship with this person, it should not
Hmm.
be transactional. That's why I feel like it's kind of a systemic issue or like an issue
Yeah.
with therapy itself. Like I think insurance should cover all therapy. Like therapy should be
Yeah.
free because the fact that like I've had to negotiate my like pay for her has
It
always just
taints,
felt very transactional. Yes.
yeah, it taints the relationship.
I was like fully ready to go back to her, but whenever I got my job rescinded, I kind of like let her know. She was on vacation at the time, and I was just like, because this like happened, I don't think I can like financially continue with the price that you had told me, which
Uh-huh.
was the minimum price that she said she could do.
Okay.
Um, and to which she responds, she's like, it's important to continue therapy. Let me know what you can pay for. Which like I already told her what I could pay for,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
we already went through this dance. So does this mean that you could have taken less money, but had negotiated at like a higher price? Like, and I
Mm,
totally respect that, but then it just like gives you the ick. It gives it like
yeah,
it kind of makes the water murky, and now it kind of like not ruin, but like taints the relationship that we established that should be so heavily
definitely.
based on trust.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. I was wondering where like trust came from when you said that, but now that makes a lot of sense to me. It's weird because obviously this is her job. And so
Yeah.
in our like position, we're trying to get a job. We're always like, we should negotiate this and that, and they should value
Mhm.
us for what we're worth. And so it's a weird situation
It
because
is.
it's a very personal relationship that you have with your therapist, even
Mhm.
though this is their profession. It's weird. It's like negotiating with the doctor. You would never do that. It's like those relationships when people are sending each other spreadsheets back and forth. I saw a TikTok on
Yeah.
that, and you're just like, what?
I think there's like little things about, I mean, the whole transaction thing is like kind of like an ache of mine, the whole
Hmm.
like money situation. But also, there have been moments, like, I remember the specific moment where I asked her, like, oh, I just don't know if I need weekly sessions right now, especially because I'm
Yeah.
like a little bit busy and I want to switch to bi weekly. Is that
Hmm.
okay? And she was just like, explain to me why you want to switch to bi-weekly, because I feel like in cases where people want to do less, it actually means they need to do more. Like I think we should do twice a week.
Oh my God.
And she would like almost never let me switch or never let me skip a
Yeah.
session unless like I had a reason, like I'd be out of town or I would have people in my home and I couldn't do our sessions in a private
Hmm.
space.
Hmm.
And to your point about like feeling guilty or like feeling judged, I would feel
Yeah.
so guilty for always
Yeah.
skipping a session. And like we've been at this for 3 years, and I feel like I know myself well enough to be able to
Totally.
handle a week away from therapy.
Yeah. 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 And you should be driving this situation and you should be driving
Mm-hmm.
the frequency. It's your therapy time, like whatever, your like healing. If you think biweekly is good for you, then she should just be like, cool. You know what's crazy is like, shouldn't you wanting to switch to biweekly be like a good thing?
Yes.
What?
That's also why I just felt like, does she have my best interest in hand?
Yeah.
Am I just like another paycheck for her?
Remember a couple weeks ago, my therapist asked me if I wanted to go to biweekly,
Yeah.
and I was insulted. Not insulted, but I was like, no, I don't want to do biweekly.
Okay, I will end with this like funny ick that I have of her, but I think she specializes in dreams, which is a little bit kooky. Which like I kind of lean into sometimes because my
Yeah.
dreams are fucking crazy. Like I don't
Yeah.
know where my subconscious like comes into play. And like I've been having some crazy dreams, but she takes them so seriously and she's pulling like conclusions left and right. She's like, oh, tell me about the dream. And then she'd be like, you saw red like 3 times. This means this. And I'd just be like, yeah. But I was paying $20 at the time for it. So, you tell me whatever you want to tell me. But if we're
Wait, what
gonna
did
go
she
back
think?
to like
What did you think red was?
I
Okay.
don't know. There was this one dream though where like I couldn't get into this building and I
Mm-hmm.
had many like ID issues and she'd be like, "Oh, an ID. Are you questioning your like identity or like who you are?" So
Okay.
I question that all the time.
Like she's not wrong for a second.
I know. And she takes it like so seriously
Yeah.
and like my ache is just like it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a dream.
Thanks so much for listening. You can follow us on all social media at Clown Vibes Podcast or email us at clownvibespodcast@gmail.com.
And if you enjoy our show and want to support us, please like, subscribe, and give us a rating and review. That's it for today. Bye,
Bye,
clowns.
clowns.